on the Everett Ellison show. We're going to talk about the violence directed toward black people as they try to move themselves up in America. You think that it was somebody else, but it's not who you thought it was. We're going to talk about the history of violence against black people today on the Everett Ellison show. All right, let's get this thing started. You know, the founding fathers were some interesting guys. It was just a bunch of farmers, really. But over the 200 years that they had been in America, almost 300, because Columbus got in 1492, 1776 was the Declaration of Independence. So this close to 300 years it took to form an American. And they had gotten this idea of just freedom. Nobody tell them what to do. They went where they wanted. They went where they wanted to go. They did what they wanted to do. They answered to nobody but God. And then when King George tried to make them do something they didn't want to do, pay taxes, they said, we're not going to do it. And if he said, I'm going to make it, he said, don't try it. And when he did, they whooped his behind and sent him back home. You got to understand now that these cats were going to fight the most powerful army in the history of the world, the British Empire. And the way that the British dealt with traitors was horrendous, man. It was terrible. It was specifically designed to make sure that they set an example to anybody that tried to take something from the king. You watch the movie Braveheart, when they called Braveheart at the end, William Wallace. It kind of showed you what they did to him. And that's what they did to everybody that bucked the king. And so they basically told George Washington and all the founding fathers that we're going to send tens of thousands of men to America. Y'all going to make us send tens of thousands of men to America across the Atlantic Ocean. Y'all going to force us to do that? Yeah. I'll tell you what, if I have to do that, when I get there and I catch y'all, I'm just not going to kill you. I'm going to bring you back in Great Britain in chains. I'm going to parade you through the streets. And then when I get you here, I'm not just going to kill you. I'm going to kill you slow. I'm going to kill you slow. First, I'm going to castrate you. Yeah. Then I'm going to Then I'm going to hang you slow. And hang you till you're almost dead. And right before you die, I'm going to cut you down. Then I'm going to cut you open. I'm going to pull out your entrails and your guts and let you see them before you die. That's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to chop you up in little pieces. And I'm going to send parts of you to each of the corners of the British Empire and put your head on a pike in front of my castle. I'm going to teach y'all about messing with me. And the founding fathers said, oh yeah? Well, this is what we're going to do for you, King George. They wrote the Declaration of Independence, and at the end of it, they say, we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Bring it. He whooped them and sent them back in the British Army. Didn't come back to America until the War of 1812, and then we whooped their behinds again and sent them back, and they hadn't been here since. Now, what is my point? My point is that there's been a history of violence against black people here in the United States of America. A history of violence. And that history of violence exists because we have refused to do what the founding fathers did. And that is we pledge our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor to the cause of freedom. And if anybody comes to try to take it from us, we're going to kill you. Very simple, salient statement. Instead, what are we singing? We shall overcome. Overcome what? Overcome the Democrat Party? That's what you're trying to overcome. You're overcoming a bunch of perverts, liars, psychopaths, and anti-Christian bigots. A bunch of no good, sorry, lying Democrats. That's what you're trying to overcome. we shall overcome. Oh, that's your fight song? And while you're fighting it, it already says that you are not achieving your goal when you say, we shall. You ain't saying we will or that we have. Yeah, you might as well say we ain't going to overcome. And don't nobody know the songs to the Black National Anthem. I see people trying to sing it before some of the football games. I'd be like, Star Spangled Banner talking about blowing stuff up, killing folks in the Star Spangled Banner. The Battle of Fort McHenry, when we whooped the hell out the British in the War of 1812 and woke up, we saw the fort was still standing and said that Star Spangled Banner is still yet wave over the land of the free and the home of the what? Home of the brave. Because in order to be free, you must be what? Brave. That's the American fight song, and ours is we shall overcome. Boy, ain't that something? Man, I bet white folks be looking at us and say, boy, I tell you what, when are these black people going to learn? That's why I don't hang out with these civil rights and iron triangle fools. That's a bunch of damn losers, man. Always begging for the crumbs that fall from the table. And I'm trying to tell Donald Trump and a lot of the Republicans, just give them the crumbs, man. You just give them, they got to be satisfied with the crumbs. Just take this, and they'll shut up. You ain't got to give them much. Like Leonard Johnson said, Negroes getting kind of uppity. You just got to give them a little something. Not enough to make not enough to make a difference. Just give them some crumbs. So, a history of violence. Oh, we celebrate a history of violence. Edmund Pettus Bridge, we conflate it. They always talk about Bloody Sunday on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. You know nobody got killed on the Edmund Pettus Bridge? I think maybe one person went to the hospital, about 15 people got injured. And they try to act like it was like Hiroshima on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. They celebrate the Edmund Pettus Bridge like the Japanese talk about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They talk about the Edmund Pettus Bridge the way the U.S. military talk about Pearl Harbor. And nobody got killed. About 15 folks got injured. Because they want to conflate violence. Selma, Montgomery, all of them. I think about the worst thing that ever happened in the civil rights movement was those 4 little girls got blown up and killed in that church. And that was bad enough. But most of the violence inflicted upon black people were inflicted upon black people, the riots and all that kind of thing, Detroit, to Harlem, to Newark, to Los Angeles. And they talk about the history of violence from other people. They need to look at the black community themselves and talk about the history of violence we impose upon each other. But I digress. We deal with this thing. We have to deal with this now because Booker T. Washington told us that we have to become industrious. We have to build our own. We have to make our own society and our own community so nice that white people might want to come live with us. We have to have skills that if we go out into the market, bricklayer, carpenter, plumber, electrician, mechanic, that we can make a living, honest and industrious, and you earn the respect of your peers and the people around you because you are. The same way the Asian community, the Indian community, and the Jewish community has earned their respect. But we decided not to do that. We decided to take the way of W.B. Du Bois and NAACP, a protest, lawsuits, forcing white people to accept us. And when you try to force people to do something, they resist. And with resistance comes violence. It's nothing. I mean, it's nothing worse than somebody aggravating you. You told this guy, man, I told you to leave me alone now. You come up in my face one more time, I'm going to knock you through that brick wall. And then he come up in your face and goes, yeah. And then you lose it and knock him out. Then he want to go to the police and have you arrested because you've been aggravating him for 2 days. And that's what black folks was doing. Going down south just aggravating white folks. Sit-ins, marches, running into their schools, all that kind of stuff. And then violence, you know. And then when the violence comes in, you got the cameras. And they want to call it violence. There's such thing as fighting words. There's such things that you just aggravate a person to a person just snap. And people say to me, how come you always put it on the victim? Why are you always blaming the victim? I said, because, man, you know what? As long as you see yourself as a victim, you'll always be one. So I don't give you any quarter, man. Blaming the victim. You want to be a victim? Be one. But this violence all came from the Democratic Party. It all came from the KKK. It all came from the red shirts. It came from the very people that y'all vote for now. The very people that are still imposing violence on you. They want to tell you the violence came from Republicans some kind of way, but they don't know the Republican Party down in the South until about the early 1970s. It didn't exist. And after the 1970s, there was no violence in the South toward black people, not in the organized way, unless black people killing each other. But before 1970, before the Republican Party became part of the South, all the violence, and the South was a violent place toward black people. But when the Republican Party took over the South, the violence stopped. KKK no longer really existed down South. You didn't have people being lynched and hung from trees and shot with water hoses and water cannons anymore. And it wasn't because the federal government was down here. It was because the Republican Party took over the South. And the Republican Party took over the South, a lot of that stuff stopped. But you still had black people still want to live in Democratic Party enclaves. And whatever the Democratic Party ruled, that's what you had. You had violence. And the violence always comes from the Democratic Party. Now, put that in your pipe and smoke it, player. You go to Mississippi, the violence is in Jackson. Who wants Jackson, Mississippi? Democrats. You go to Georgia, most of the violence comes out of Atlanta. Who runs Atlanta? Democrats. You go to Tennessee, most of the violence comes out of either Memphis or Nashville. Who runs Memphis or Nashville, y'all? Democrats. Hell, you go to Louisiana, most of the violence comes out of New Orleans. Who runs New Orleans, y'all? Democrats. Go to Virginia, most of the violence comes out of Richmond. Who runs Richmond? Democrats. North Carolina is Charlotte. Who runs Democrats? You go to South Carolina, you go to Columbia, South Carolina. That's where the violence is coming from. Who runs Columbia? Democrats. You see where I'm going with this? Wherever you have a large area of black folks, black people elect the Democratic Party, or the Democratic Party is still in elections in those areas. And then when they elect them, they bring in the violence. They start killing black folks. And somehow or another, they make black people, while they're killing black folks, they're going to tell black folks that Republicans and conservatives are the ones doing it. How the hell boy, I tell you what, that is a magic trick, isn't it? The white Democrats run the show, and the black Democrats run the show, and everything is hell. I mean, they run the schools, they run the city council, they got the police and everything. And as things go bad, they're going to say, it's them Republicans. Vote for me, still. That's amazing. That deserves a round of applause. And black people fall for it and keep on falling for it. But you know what? Abraham Lincoln understood this. At the end of the Civil War, he told black folks, he said, it's no way. He called up a bunch of black leaders and said, look, y'all, war's about to end. We're going to put the South back where they're supposed to be. We're going to make sure they get back into the Union, okay? I'm going to free the slaves. We're going to do the 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, okay? All right. We got to find out what to do with the black people down there. Because I can tell you this right here. It's no way. Those Southern whites, it's just no way. Those Southern whites are going to look at their former slaves as equals. There's no way it's going to happen. So Lincoln said, let me tell you what we need to do. We can do one of three things. We can send y'all back to Africa. They said, no, that's a no deal. We don't know Africa. He said, all right. He said, I can give you the state of Texas. It's a big state. A lot of farmland, a lot of everything down in Texas. All y'all go down to Texas. You still be Americans. No, we don't want Texas. Well, I'll tell you what. We got all of this new land that we still need to have settled from the Louisiana Purchase and from the war with Mexico. We got a Homestead Act coming up that will give you 150 acres of land if you go out and just work the land. You can use the land as collateral to build your home and get all of your supplies. The Freedmen's Bureau is going to help you out. Do that then. Hell no. We're going to learn to stay and work with our masters. And Lincoln told him, don't you know you're putting your people back in slavery for 100, 150 years by doing that? Same jokers today. Well, will you at least get a gun and defend yourself from them when they come trying to kill you? Because I can't leave the army down there forever. Some did. Some didn't. Y'all, the violence that's been imposed on black Americans for the last, 200, 250 years has been imposed by two types of people. The white Democrat and the black Democrat. That's it. I did some research and I found out, asked questions, any Republicans ever owned slaves? I think I found one person and he might have owned like maybe 4 or 5. And then most of my research said none, 0. None. They were all held by Democrats. And they still got you under control right now. All the violence in the black community comes from them. All the hatred stared toward the black community comes from them. The Ku Klux Klan was the military wing of the Democratic Party. The Red Shirts was a military wing of the Democratic Party. The White Leagues were the Democratic Party. The White Citizens Council was the Democratic Party. The police that you say are abusing you, the Democratic Party. The sheriffs who are abusing you and locking you up, putting you in jail, Democrat Party. In the cities where you live, yeah. The juries that lock you up, Democratic Party. Because juries are pulled from your peers where you live. The judges, they give you the time, Democratic Party. Because the judges are local. They're in the jurisdiction of where you committed the crime. And that's usually in a Democratic Party stronghold. Only time the Republicans might get you is when you go to state prison. Then they got to warehouse you. But everything that sent your black behind to that state prison, Democrat Party. They're the one that gave your mama the incentive to kick your daddy out the house. They're the ones that gave you the bad education. So you couldn't get a good job when you got out of high school. Yeah. They're the ones that made sure you remain poor. They're the ones that told you that the country was racist, that you were nobody, that you were nothing, that you could not achieve. It was them. That's the worst type of violence, y'all. It's called child abuse. To teach a child that he's nothing before he even crawl or walk. To teach him that his country hates him when it's a lie. To tell him to stay here hidden, confused. Yeah, that's what they did. And then the worst thing them suckers will do, they will tell you that the number one thing that you can do to secure your freedom and secure your manhood, they'll tell you that it's bad. And that's the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms. A little black dude in Tennessee, Pearson, what's the dude with the afro? Weird looking little guy. He's skinny. He like a bobblehead. Because he got the afro, his head look like, if he nod, he fall over. But he always up there raising hell about something. And one thing he hates is guns. Because he got a slave mind. So sadly, his brother committed suicide. And he decided to use that as a reason to come to the State House and ask the state of Tennessee to revoke the right to carry a gun in the state. Because his brother committed suicide. Again, a victim, right? Since his brother did it, everybody else got to give their gun up because of what his brother did. See how stupid that is? Why are you asking me to give up my gun? Because my brother committed suicide. Well, that makes sense to me. And when the state wouldn't hear it, he wanted to fight. I wish that state rep would have turned around and knocked the hell out of him. Hit him right in his jaw and knocked him out. But again, I understand you can't do that on the State House floor. He up there flexing and whatnot. But that's who they are. They got kicked out, him and another little dude from Nashville. They both protested on the House floor. All they know how to do is protest. They don't know how to sit down and legislate. They just up there protesting. Hell raising. Both of them look like they're from the ghetto. Just ratchet. Trying to talk black folks into giving their guns up so that the state can come in and subjugate them. When the British came to America at Lexington and Concord and told the colonists to give up their guns and their weapons, they said, British, come and take them. And then fired on them. It was a shot heard around the world. Come take them. Giving up my gun. It's like asking the tiger to give up his claws and his fangs. Come take it. Hey, but you got black legislators right now, you know why? Because they're Marxists, y'all, who are actually telling the American people and their constituents to give their guns up to the government. And then when the violence ensues in these large areas because the people have no guns, they're going to say, well, isn't that something? New York City, Washington, D.C., they're always fighting to make sure that you give your guns up. And then what you got? You got nothing but violence. And they don't care. They're Marxists. Violence. The myth that the violence in the black community has been started and is controlled by Republicans is insanity. It is being caused by two groups and two groups only. White Democrats, black men. And that means black Democrats. All the violence comes from Democrats. All of it. And until you change your way of thinking from being a Marxist, atheist, socialist, pervert, and start thinking yourself as a responsible, respectful, Christian man of virtue, you're going to keep on having these problems. Once you start thinking about yourself as a Christian man of virtue, you know what you're going to do? You're going to pick up your family and get out of that daggum ghetto. You're going to get yourself a better job. You're going to clean yourself up. You're going to start acting like a man of respect and virtue, and other people are going to respect you, and you're going to move your life on up. That would be my advice for you. All of you out there, and even now the white society is seeing this violence and these maladies that used to just plague only the black community. Yeah, it's into the white community now. And the white community is dying quicker than the black community is. You guys are beyond your rate of replacement for sure. I mean, young white kids all into this LGBTQ and all of this, don't want to have children and don't want to work, and fentanyl and dying young because of deaths of despair. Black folks kill each other. White folks kill themselves. Suicide and drugs take out the white community. The very thing that gives you purpose in life, your children, you're avoiding them. You know, I'll tell you this, man. Men are interesting. If a child is under a man's roof, even if that child is not his, he'll give his life for it, he'll work 80 hours a week to make sure that child has shoes on his feet, food to eat. You take that child away, out of sight, out of mind. This is why when women have a child and she's marries that man becomes responsible. The foolishness in his heart goes away. But this is something that the man does that a lot of women don't like. Then when the man gets married, he wants order. He wants order in his home. And a lot of women don't like order. They want to be able to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, how they want to do it. And then the man wants order, as Adam wanted in the garden. It says, no, I want my children in bed at this time. I want my house clean. I want dinner at this time, And then when it was not, there's this order, and then there's a problem. Finally, the woman gets mad and says, I want my freedom because I don't like order. And the whole thing blows up. That's where the violence comes from, y'all. It's self-imposed. Men without structure, men without purpose, are roaming the street hustling because they don't have their children and their wives to give them structure, give them purpose. And then out in the streets, without any structure or purpose, sin knocks at the door. And there's your violence. All courtesy of the Democratic Party. And they love it. And they're going to keep it going, and they're going to keep it going, and they're going to keep it going. Because all they do is meditate on blood. So when you want to understand where the violence comes from in the black community, when you want to understand who causes the violence in the black community, it is the Democratic Party because they're an evil institution. The evilest institution in the history of the world. When you want to talk about black on black violence, when you want to talk about who's bringing the dope in and the crack in and the guns in and why the schools are so bad, yeah, you look at Democrats, period, black and white. Look at the iron triangle. Most black preachers, most black politicians, most black civil rights workers. That's who you look at. And for the black people and the white folks that are involved in this chicanery, you leave them alone. They're going to cannibalize themselves and destroy themselves. What you need to do, most of you that listen to me, is never get involved in it. Stay away from these people. Stay away from these people. They are horrible people. Stay away. Don't get involved. If you see a person running as a Democrat, run away from that sucker like he's the plague. He'll destroy everything you have. That's the only thing Vince can tell you. And choose somebody that's going to allow you to pray to your God. Somebody's going to allow you to educate your children. Someone's going to allow you to make a good living and keep most of your money. Somebody's going to allow you to defend yourself. Somebody's going to allow you to live free. If you take nothing away from me today, choose to be free. Reject the concept of slavery. Understand slavery is a choice, just like freedom is a choice. If you go to the Democratic Party, you're accepting slavery. If you don't vote the Democratic Party, you're accepting freedom. It is a choice. I hope you choose it today, and I hope you keep it forever. And you know what, you guys, if you found anything in here, if you find this podcast educational, if you get any type of virtue, any type of elevation from it, I want you to subscribe, I want you to comment, and I want you to like. Because again, we're chasing 100,000. And once we go there, we're going to get 1 million. And we're going to keep on going and keep on going, because when you save America, you save the world. And some of you have been asleep, but I'm here to wake you up. I hope I did you some good today. So join me again for another edition of the Vince Everett Ellison Show. All right, friends, Vince Everett Ellison is here. I want you to go to my website, and on my website, you're gonna see a lot of great stuff, man. You're gonna see that we got t-shirts, we got caps, you got my books, my documentaries, you got all kinds of stuff on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Go there. We're dropping new t-shirts, we're dropping new merchandise. My new book, The End of Tolerance, is there. The End of Tolerance. Make sure you get it, make it #1. If you got my first 3, get The End of Tolerance. It's just as good, and it's telling us we have to end our tolerance with these leftists, these Democrats. We can no longer allow them to sexually groom our children. We can no longer allow them to castrate little boys and call them little girls, run God out of the public square, take away our guns, take away our sovereignty. No longer allow it. So go on VinceSpeaksTruth.com. That is VinceSpeaksTruth.com. Hit merchandise. You'll see the t-shirts. You'll see the caps. You'll see the books. You'll see the documentaries. You'll see it all. And let's keep this ball rolling. God bless you.